Okay, Rescape 2.0. Today's video is going to be a continuation of the science of discontent, because I said then that if you didn't have peace, you don't have peace, you don't have access to all options, and there's some things you can't do. And if you can be okay with the next possible moment, then things like self-consciousness and worry and fear and things like that won't be there, because you'll be okay, at least with the next moment. Because it's, it takes the action to get to something is in the next moment. And then you're opening up new possibilities. Okay, so today's going to be for a specific one of those discontents. It's called, I'm just going to call it fear, but not just any kind of fear, because some fear is helpful. The fear I'm talking about today is the fear of loss. Now, what happens with the fear of loss, when that is a discontent, not only does it take away possibilities of action that you no longer have access to because you won't confront, unless you confront the fear and overcome it. The thing with the fear of loss, at least that specific type of fear, is that it'll actually make the thing that you fear more likely to occur. Now, I don't exactly know why this is, but this kind of phenomenon takes place in very peculiar kind of ways. The first one, when I thought of it or figured it out, I was like, wow, why is this the case? I don't know. But if you ever do, if you have to tight rope walk, basically if you're afraid of heights, or even if you're not afraid of heights, let's say you're just doing an obstacle course where you have to get from one platform to the other, and there's a rope, and you have a harness on, so if you fall, you're not going to die, but you still have to walk across this rope. A lot of people, or maybe most people that walk across that rope, their legs are going to start shaking. Especially if you haven't done it before, your legs will start shaking, and does that make it more or less likely you're going to fall off the rope? So, like some fear, like you're running away from a grizzly bear, not that you would make it anyway, but the adrenaline, it helps you. In no way does shaking legs help you when you're walking across a rope. So, and then it was like, why is this the case? I figured something in biology, but I understood eventually that maybe you've already thought of this or not. I'm introducing the idea, but your legs shake because of your fear. The fear is actually causing you more likely to fall off. And the way that manifests, when you're on a rope with nothing around you and nothing to do, the only way a manifestation could occur that would make it more likely for you to fall off is something has to be there to make you lose your balance, and you actually create that something because your legs start shaking. So that's the first thing. Now there's more broad things too, like if let's say you're a soldier at any point in history, and usually, at least maybe not in modern times, but for the vast majority of human history, battles would take place during the day. So they might start at dawn or sometime during the day, but they didn't start at night. So you'd sleep at nighttime, and then you wake up the day, and then you'd go and you might die. So the problem is with new people, again, if you haven't done it before, if you're a new soldier, like the veteran soldiers, they can sleep that night knowing they might have to go into battle and die the next day. The new people, not as easily. So new people having that fear, don't sleep. Does that make them more likely or less likely to die? They didn't have the fear, they could sleep, and then they would, because if you stay up all night, now granted, when you're fighting, there's the adrenaline and all that, but still, you're not stacking the things and you're stacking the odds in your favor. And then the other thing, at its highest degree, the fear of loss causes panic, and when you're panicking, absolutely nothing good can happen unless it's like that 1 in a billion cosmic chances that just the way your arms flail happen to do something. So, like, say you're scuba diving in a cave and you don't know how to get out, and you might get out if you still have some time left in your air tank. But then you're like, oh shit, I'm not going to make it. And then that fear, if it overcomes you, now you're panicking. There's no way you're going to get out. You probably just hit your head or break one of your pieces of equipment and just drown right away. So panic is the if not the ultimate, then the penultimate form of the fear, how the fear of loss causes the fear to happen. If you fear something enough, then the panic makes sure it's going to take place. And then there's things like physiological things, not just your leg shaking, but like if you're in a fight and you're not confident, when someone punches you, you're going to tense. And even confident people, if you're not trained, let's say they just hit you in the chest. It's not even going to do a lot of damage, but the way you receive the hit, for most people, is usually they'll tense, and it's not the right thing to do. But if you're not trained, or no one's pointing out, now the tension on the spot that gets hit actually makes the spot that gets hit take more of the force of the hit. So in essence, what you have here is a specific part of your body in and of itself is afraid of taking damage, and in doing so becomes in agreement of the damage by tensing to receive more of it. If you have a confident fighter, they do the thing where they loosen up, and because they know if they're loosey-goosey, they can deflect hits. Hits might deflect off them, or if they land, they're absorbed over a greater period of time, area. And so, because if you tense, it's just that one little tension takes all the hit. So the confident people the more confident fighters, tend to be more loose and soft, and because the fear's not there. So once you have the fear of taking damage, even though it's the other person trying to hurt you, you then on some level become in agreement with the pain based off your fear. Your fear is basically making them hurt you more. I think I've explained that enough. So it happens in all sorts of different ways. And there's other ways I'm sure I'm not thinking of, you can probably think of, just like what's something, let's say you're going to go ask a girl out. If you're afraid she's going to reject you, would you think it's more likely or less likely you're going to ask her out? Because if you really think she's going to reject you and there's no chance of her saying yes, then it immediately happens because you don't do anything. Even though she might have said yes, you don't know, and you'll never find out because the fear of rejection caused her to reject you. I mean, she didn't reject you, but you still got the no because you didn't ask. And gosh, there's a whole list. Just think of something that you're afraid of losing, and then figure out in that category, in that scenario, what would you do because of the fear? And it's almost certainly going to increase the likelihood of your fear taking place. So the peace, being at peace, isn't just important to access things, but it's also important to prevent mind states to make things happen that you don't want to happen. Because ultimately, it's not just fear. There's a lot of other things. But ultimately, if you're not at peace and free in yourself, that leaves the opening, not always, but it leaves the opening that other things can control you. Wherever you're tense, again, check my video on tension way back in 2015. In Mind, Body, Spirit, wherever you're tense, that gives a hold on other things to affect you where you're not free. Not only are you not free because you're tense there, but now you're giving a handle to something else that you may not even know about. So if anything, this video is just trying to add on to the science of discontent, why it's important that we really address that part of our lives, and that you shouldn't just put up with a life with little pieces of discontent here and discontent there, because when they add up, there's a huge effect, and you wouldn't even know what it was unless you experienced them not being there. And then you just live your whole life, or anybody lives their whole life with the little piece of discontent, not realizing, what it actually did, because they never had the chance to see otherwise. So anyway, yeah, that's enough for this video. But again, just there's all sorts of things that can do this. This video is for the fear of loss. Usually the fear of loss will cause whatever you're afraid of more likely to happen in all sorts of different ways. Definitely check it out. Play thought experiments. Maybe you'll just things in your day, or you see other people. We do really stupid stuff because of this. And again, you wouldn't know unless you really think about it, and it just happens to occur to you, like me, or if you watch this video, and then you can take it, and then in your life you can be like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's like, I want to do that, but and I'm afraid to do that, but I'm specifically going to ignore that action in spite of the fear, because I don't want to live that life anymore. And then that's what you have to do, because when you do that enough, it builds up the habit, and then you are the veteran soldier, you are the confident, experienced fighter, that sort of thing. You're the person that walks across the tightrope and the legs don't shake because you have that experience. So even if you go through it one time and you're afraid, and the next time not as much, and eventually you just force yourself to do it anyway, again, because you're at peace, you can take the action in spite of the fear. And then eventually, it's at least in that aspect of that place and that action in your life, it won't even be something you think about anymore. And whole people do this. Whole people they have to find places where they're afraid and just push through, and they do it anyway. And that's just part of growing. And even if you're not whole, that's just part of being, what a human being is supposed to do. And one of the reasons we're put here is to grow and expand and, push the limits of what we feel comfortable doing. And if you're not doing that, then that's definitely something to reconsider. So anyway, this video has gone on far enough. Rescape, fear of loss. Hope this helped. Have a good day.